It's me, Chucky. My mommy is the best. Super mom, love you, best. She loves mommy. It makes my little snack. Go get go snack. I just might go back. You wait for the straw. Brush. Get ready for it's super slippery. I'm super strong.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Healing for the Soul podcast. It is your go-to resource for parents and want-to-be parents who strive for success without sacrificing connection and well-being. Each episode delivers actionable strategies and inspiring insights to help you build emotional intelligence and resilience for yourself and for your family. Strengthen relationships with yourself, your partner, and your children. Master parenting as an entrepreneur, even while raising young children. Discover life and parenting hacks that simplify your journey. Explore hypnosis and other healing modalities for a deeper transformation. This podcast isn't just about parenting and a fertility journey. It's about creating harmony, wealth, and alignment in every area of life. Let's get started. This is season 6. I am your host, Supermom Robin Stoltman. Today's episode is sponsored by Nancy Hart, and her story is amazing. Now, Nancy's recipe for happiness is to share ideas and deep thoughts and avoid wasting time in a superficial conversations and gossip. She traveled 6 out of 7 continents, having grown up in Manhattan in South Florida. She is a xenophile, preferring exposure to various cultures of the world over sand and sun. She graduated University of Miami with a BA in psychology, studied art appreciation in Europe, attended a Fashion Institute of Technology, studied Kabbalah and Buddhism, and traveled the parameters of the United States. Please welcome Nancy Hart.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet everybody. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, Nancy, for being here with our audience. So I'm like, what's a xenophile? I'm like, did I even say that right? I'm like
Xenophile. Yeah, xenophile. It's when you love culture. I love culture. I love to, like, for me, it's fun to go and have some coffee and sit down and just watch the parade of people go by and study them. Yeah, I'm a people watcher and a culture absorber and partaker if I can. I can learn so much.
I agree. I did not know that that's what the word was, xenophile. Because yes, I love watching people, like when I learned the hypnosis, and then I've learned more studying of like personality traits. Like you can read a person's face, like when you're looking at a person's traits on their faces, their personality is shown on our faces and like our hands and our body. And then that's different than like the disc. And for personality, I'm like, I love this because it's kind of funny because you can see like some of the couples, like why they're arguing is because they're not reading each other's personality right. That's the reason why they're fighting. They don't know how to talk to the other person, and they want to talk the way that they've been, they've want to be talked to, but they don't like know how to do it for the other person. So it's kind of funny to watch, but I didn't know that was the term. So I guess I'm going to start using that term.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very much
the study of
people.
the face, the different way people look is called phrenology. So, somebody's got a big nose, a big ears, little eyes, big forehead. These are all things I write about, actually. I think it's in my second book that should be coming out either Friday or Monday. And my grandmother used to do that. And if I look at a picture, I can tell a lot about a person that happened when that picture was taken. I could read their thoughts and I could know things from them just through the phrenology.
That is awesome, because I know like there was one person one time that I was talking with, and they're like, your energy stays in a picture. I'm like, well, that's not true at all whatsoever. Like this is a couple years ago.
Does. Yes.
And I'm like, that's not true. And then I started looking at some of my photos, and like what you said, yeah, it does. Like the energy of who you are, like that's everywhere. And so now it's like that makes sense. Like with some of the used items, like when I don't go to thrift stores anymore, but when I used to go to thrift stores, like certain clothes
Yep.
Like you become the person
That's right.
who they were. And then, like, some of the items that I've had
That's right.
that I've gotten, it's like, it's weird, but people typically don't think of those things, but it's
I
like
don't go
they
to
leave their
thrift
energy all the
stores.
time.
You don't know what you're buying. I mean, it's usually death or disease. Um, and I don't want to be bothered with that. Plus, I think, maybe way back, clothes at the thrift store were made a lot more sense, but now there's so many stores like Ross and TJ Maxx and Marshalls. Not that this is an advertisement for them, but I do go shop there. You can buy stuff at a really good, if you have to, on clearance. But there's really no reason. Like maybe 50 years ago, if you wanted a nice shirt, you had to go to a good store, but you had to go to the thrift shop if you didn't have the money. I grew up on thrift shop clothes, and I won't do it anymore because of the energy. Yeah, yeah. I don't even like to go into a thrift shop because of the energy. There is a thing to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So I'm glad that I'm not the only person that's like come to this like conclusion on that, because
Well,
it's like
let's take that
it's
further.
really weird.
Let's
Yeah.
take that further because, like, let's say you have somebody you meet and you were like in a really good mood, and then
Oh,
they're not around anymore, and you're like, what happened? I was in a good mood before they showed up. Now I'm angry. I'm all thinking about this and that. I'm like, oh, it's like a circle. It's like the Olympic circles.
yeah.
We all do have energy fields. And if you're sitting in someone's energy field and it's yucky, you will leave feeling like who they are. And that's more of like a sensitive person's ability to pick up on that. Whereas some people or whatever, it's not unlucky or lucky. It's just an ability that sensitive people do have. I have that. And I think being sensitive is a good thing. I was told it was bad growing up, and I think it's a great ability.
Oh, it's very much needed, I tell you. That's why I'm like, some of the people that have asked me, like, well, can you really do hypnosis online? Well, yeah, you can do anything online, but everybody's got their intentions. Is it good or bad? I'm just saying. But it's like you can still feel energy through the computer of the other person. Because I'm
Yes.
like, how many people do you meet that you're just like, I'm like, it's not, I want to say like the podcast, but at the same time, it's like you do get people that you're like, okay, this was like very direct to the point. And then some are just like, hey, this is all good. But that's not just like the podcast. It's like other people though too. Like you get on coffee chat or you're talking to somebody and you just can tell their energy is not either there or whatever. But it's kind of funny because it's like not everybody realizes it's like that's what you're leaving like behind. And then they're like, yeah, I could talk about it all day because
Yeah.
I love learning about like the energy in itself.
Right.
But it's like
Right.
it's
Right.
so powerful is what it is. So when
It's
you've
very
traveled,
powerful. Very
when
powerful. Okay, so let's take it even
yeah,
further somewhere else. Like I'm a Reiki master, which means where you have meridians on a globe. So we have chakras, people have chakras, which are stored energy fields, right? And so like as a Reiki master, if I put my hand over somebody and I scan their body, I could feel where trauma is stored, and I know what to do with it. Luckily, I know what to do with it now. I, being a clairvoyant person, bring something else to the table, and I actually see film. It's like a film, and I hear. So it's clairaudient. So clairvoyant meaning I see it, and then clairaudient meaning I hear um, a message. The film actually has like subtitles and it'll tell
awesome.
me through symbols. And sometimes if I say the human side will kick in, I go, oh, no, no, that can't be. And then I'll hear, I don't know, I guess it's the guardian angel, I'll say, or the all knowing that I'm connected with. They'll say, no, that is a burial site. You'll have to ask the person, what does it mean that they are looking at a burial site? And then I have to just be bold enough and just push the human side away and just say, hey, I see this and this and this. Is this what's going on? I see a burial site. And those, yeah, when I was young, my mother died when I was young. So they're symbols. But yeah, that's how much there is with energy. It is a very, very, very real thing.
Yeah, it very is. I'm glad that you said about Reiki because I was thinking about that today. I'm like, it's been a long time since I've done any Reiki on myself. And I was like, it was really weird, but like it puts you in a different vibrational energy. Like it's more spiritual, like what I was trained that it is. Like it's very much a very spiritual thing that you're doing at the same time when you're doing the Reiki, but it's so weird because it's like I'm one that picked up my husband was having a hernia and I'm like he was thinking he had one. Well, then I seen it in the one area and then I went up a little bit farther by his belly button and sure enough there was another hernia. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I think you got two. I don't think you had just one.
Oh,
and I was able to see that. And then I had somebody else that was having trouble where the heart is located at. I'm like, just go get it checked. Like I kept seeing something. I'm like, I couldn't tell what it is, but like, cause all I could see was like black blotches, like in certain areas. And then they finally went in and then they're like, yeah, my heart was having issues. And I was like, oh, well. And then I'm like, well, then I've been told that I'm the medical intuitive. And I'm like, well, yes. And you don't want to know some of the things that I've picked up with, like when a woman's had an abortion, like I picked that up and I seen that. And it was horrible because she didn't even tell me.
Yes, I've had one girl that I know oh gosh, I did a Reiki on a girl that had 3 abortions. And within a period of 2 years now, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I said to her, you cannot, I'm getting a picture of can I say the word crotch? I could
Yes.
say that. So I saw a picture of a crotch and I said, okay. And then I saw something very ugly and it was weird. It was like hair and teeth and and that's just a ball of that. And I said, oh God. And it says it's angry. I said, I think one of them you didn't do within the right amount of time and you waited and you waited and you waited and it's angry and it's going to make your life miserable because it has its own energy that it is attached to you because you did that and you're just not things are not going to go right with you. You're going to attract the wrong kind of people. And she says, oh my God, I had an abortion and it was like in the 3rd month and I waited and I waited and I waited and they told me it had hair and teeth. And I was like, what? I didn't know, like I said, yeah. I said, you can't mess around with like, you think that things aren't important. And that it is important.
Well, yeah, it is. But yeah, it's a horrible experience. Like when people don't say that they've had that. And then it's like me, I'm very pro-life. So it's like when I seen that and I've had miscarriage, it's like I don't have the ability to connect to those type of people that can do that because I'm like, I believe in life. Like there's a difference in that. But it's just so weird how, like both of us have had that where we've seen that with somebody else. And it's like, it's weird that people don't think that their actions have any impact.
Right. And I think that that's
And they do.
some kind of like consciousness or conscience that's missing somewhere. And and yeah, maybe there's different kinds of people from different places, from different galaxies, and it doesn't mean anything. Like they might be newer souls, and that's part of their path of learning, because to become as we get higher and higher, even like in some religions like Buddhism, you become, after you're done here, you become a deity, and even they have problems, right? because now you're even more responsible for all the other people. So we're never ever perfect. So that's how I look at it when I look at them. I'm not ever in shock. I was like a little bit like, ooh, I see this thing. I mean, it looked like a little monster, right? With hair and like a blob with the teeth, and it's telling me, I'm hearing it. Teeth, hair, blob. It's got to be an emotion, but I don't judge because by the grace of God, right? Everybody goes by the grace of God. There I go. So I have to embrace them. But I found it was interesting as I was telling her now, after I put all these good symbols into your body and we're clearing this out, you need to go into the bathtub and immerse yourself and visualize with the bath salts and that you're purified, and start to think of what things come up. What comes up? You have to, instead of pushing it down and running out the door, you have to really go in and see what comes up and work on it. Well, I was hoping she would listen to me, but by the time I took the elevator to go down, she was already out the door and coming in the elevator with me. And I'm thinking, well, I guess that's why you got yourself in that position that you got yourself in the first place, because you can't keep running. You can't keep running, right? You can't keep running. Your troubles are going to get only bigger. It's like a tumbleweed. You just pick up more and more dust and more layered stuff. And you do, like, I think it's some kind of higher intelligence to be able to sit down and to either meditate or quietly sit and to go through what is the angst, why does that bother me, and why should it bother me, and how to work things out. I think that's a different kind of intelligence. For example, here's something I came up with. It's like from writing my books. Annoyance, when you're annoyed with people, instead of saying I'm so annoyed or like she's aggravating, and just you can get out of control with that and go all kinds of different kinds of tangents. You stop yourself and you say, well, why am I annoyed? What is this supposed to be teaching me? Because this is supposed to be a tap on my shoulder. I'm supposed to be learning something right now. So annoyance teaches patience. It teaches patience because you can't always work, right? Somebody annoys you. You can't just, go all the way around the office to avoid them. You have to learn patience with that person and with your own self, right? You have to be patient with like, okay, I'm going to get over it. I'm going to get over that person. So you're learning patience with your own self, and you're learning that I have to be patient with them. That's who they are. They want to be, whatever. That's fine. Let them show everybody who they are. That's cool. How you doing? So annoyance teaches patience. Abandonment. A lot of people suffer with abandonment. It's kind of sad, but that teaches self-reliance. That's the time for you to really learn. Hey, guess what? I could do this. Like, husband could walk out on you and after 20 years of marriage, or we're not, parent could just abandon you one day and just leave. I guess so. You just have to learn, okay, this is the time now. I don't need anybody. If I want to be with somebody, that's one thing, but I don't ever really need anybody. I need to give myself what I need. I'm responsible for giving me what I want and need. Then there's anger. Anger is a good one. Oh, how many times have we been angry? And that one teaches us forgiveness and compassion. Yeah. So,
especially when it's at yourself, like when it's self-directed.
yeah. Like, also you have to, it's like each one of these, it's like anger. You have to forgive yourself for being angry. But when someone's putting anger on you, you do have to forgive them, not because they're forgivable. You know what I mean by that is like, it's not what they're
Yeah.
doing. It's what you have to do is, if you don't forgive, it's like a, it's like a festering that goes on. You have a little cut, and that anger gets bigger and bigger, and the cut gets bigger and bigger. So instead, if you just say, and you really start telling yourself, I forgive them, I forgive them. But first it'll come out, I'll forgive them. Then it'll be like, I forgive them. Then at the end, I forgive them. You know, with the time,
Yeah.
it will happen. But it's a must. It's a must for one's own self to avoid disease, because things like a little thing like that could grow into cancer and different kinds of characters that you might get in your personality. So, and that's how you learn compassion, right? Look at somebody and you say, you know what, I really instead, wow, look at them. Like, that's, I am glad that if I had those characteristics and that life that that person had, and I didn't work it out, and if I don't work out my own, that's what I will look like. So that's what their purpose is in your life at that moment, is to realize you don't have to be like that. You can
True.
have the compassion and say, wow, whew, okay, I am compassionate to you. I don't want to look like that. So I'm going to learn, what is it that I've got to do not to look like that. Act like that is what I don't have to do. Good. That's not what I'm not going to act like that. And then it works. Healing works where you read this, all this backwards. So like, forgiveness and
Mhm.
compassion heals anger, and self-reliance heals abandonment, and patience heals annoyance. Yeah, yeah. So those are my big ones that I learned. And then last one, anything with power over you teaches you how to take your power back. You got to take your power back. And that's how you take your power back, was with through the things I said before. Yeah.
Well, no, and that's extremely powerful too, because like if you think about it, a lot of people, they give their power away so easily, and then they get mad, and it's like, well, you're the one that did it. Like it's kind of like when people want to say about guns, it's like, well, I've seen them. I've been in a gun shop. Guess what? Not a single one of them got up and did anything to anybody. It was a person behind it. It's like it's about as dumb as when people blame, like when people blame the guns. That's about as dumb as like a fat person blaming the spoon. I'm just saying, like that's like the automatic thing that I think of. It's like you can't blame the spoon.
Right.
You just can't. Like that was just like your choice, you
Well,
know. But I'm like, how I don't know who said it, but now it's up in my brain right now. Is like, what's eating you? Like when
mhm,
you're like a person that's heavy. Like me, I
mhm,
got all the kids like 12 years in a row pregnant. So I'm like, there's a thing, you know, my case. But
right.
it's like what's really eating you? Like that's what
Mhm,
you're running away from, but you're using it
mhm,
for food
mhm.
instead.
Food, drugs,
Yeah, that's
drinking.
another one people run.
It's the same
It's
thing.
all it
Or
is.
never
Or the
sitting
scrolling the
alone.
internet. The
Yeah,
scrolling.
yeah. Oh, the scrolling, or always being
Yes.
out and having to be with people. People that say, I can't sit home on a Friday or Saturday, or I never sit home alone. If I sit home alone, I am depressed. I'm like, okay, but don't you see that's a sign of something? Because if you can't
Mhm.
sit alone with your own self, why would you want to think even that anybody wants to sit with you? What?
They don't.
They don't. Guess what? They don't, right? No, we're supposed to not complete each other, just complement each other, right? But if you, gosh, it's really, it's a horrible thing. Loneliness and being alone is definitely two different things.
It is. Or like what I've tried to explain to my husband before, it's like I'm in business and he, and I'm like, I feel so alone. And he's like, but you're not alone. You got me, you got all the kids. And I'm like, no, but I'm alone. It's a different loneliness. It's not the same as,
It's
it's just
not
not the same.
loneliness. No,
No.
loneliness is you can be with a crowd like in New York City. Now, when I'm in New York City, I'm good for like 10 days. And after 10 days, I feel more alone than when I live out in the suburbs where there's hardly any people, because then I realize, oh, whoa, I'm alone. Too many people, too much overload for me, like a constant, like growing
Yeah.
up in New York City for me as an empath and a sensitive person, it was very difficult. It was very difficult. Yeah.
Oh,
Something
yeah.
oh, yeah, yeah, it was, and I write about that in the first book, which I will mention, Whispers, Sinners, and Saints. That's behind me. My second book,
Yeah.
Whispers, Shadows, and Saints. And its difference is shadows has different meanings in the book. You'll just have to read it to find out why.
Well, no, I appreciate it very much on that. So, what inspired you to write the Whispers, Sinners, and Saints? Because that's your first book. Is this like a series that you're writing?
Yeah, it's a series, but each book is standalone. So you can
Oh,
actually go to the second one and read that one and then go back to the first one if you wanted. The third one that I'm writing right now, it continues, but like I said, you can start with the second, go to the third, skip the first. The first one's very intense, because there's things that happen that I remember. I start off having remembrances at 5 months old. And people, when I would tell them that, well, why don't you write a book? Because nobody has that experience. And I says, one day I will. I knew I was going to write a book when I was 4 years old. I had a very horrific experience happen to me. My mom was a broken woman, and she was a product of war. So book tells you things in a lot of different ways without, spitting it out directly, but that you pick it up. Like war damages people. We don't
yeah, it
realize it
does.
because in America, we don't really, unless you fought in it, you see some things and you're a part of things. But war, as a child, her living through that and having lived through communism and having lived through Nazism, in Hungary, it devastated her. But she, instead of becoming like a weak, outwardly looking person, she was very much somebody to contend with.
Ooh,
Yeah, and what was funny is that on the exterior she was gorgeous. I mean, seriously, just a beautiful person. And at one time she says to me, what do you think I would have been, what kind of school do you think I would have benefited from going to? I think I was about 10, and I said, I think you needed finishing school. And she said, finishing school? Although I don't know if there's even such a thing as that
I don't
today,
even know
but
what it is now. I
yeah,
can't
I
remember.
guess
I've
that's a
heard it
thing. Like they
before.
don't even know what that is. But that finishing school is when they taught you how to act properly and how to be a
Oh,
lady.
oh,
Some of us
okay,
could
yes,
benefit from
I
some of
remember.
that.
Yes,
I
yeah.
think some of us could benefit from that, with people scrolling all the time on the internet. We don't even have like social politenesses, maybe sometimes. Well, she didn't have any politenesses. And so I said to her, you're beautiful exterior, but once you open your mouth, wowee. I don't even know how to explain that. So my mother was really something else. And she had a very short temper. Um, and she had nothing good to say about anybody, and not even to me, about me, to me, about me to anybody, about anybody to me. But the thing was that how to survive that, at a very,
Yeah.
I didn't have a father, never knew my father. I had my grandmother, who is the saint. She's always the saint in my books. My mother, I call the sinner. And Whispers is actually an all-knowing omniscient that I've had contact with since before being here. Being here meaning before I was born. That was the first time I recall having communications. So at 5 months is when it became solid that I had an out of body experience because I was neglected. And I saw myself from outside of my body looking down, and I
Yeah.
was sloshing around. I was just like a red blob. And I've not seen anything like that. I mean, what have you seen when you're 5 months old? You look around and you see the walls, right? But this, I'm looking down and I see that this thing is screaming and it's sloshing around. And I said, what on earth is that? What is that? And that's when Whispers came in and said, that is you. And when he told me that was you, I snapped back into my body and I said, hey, I've been crying for somebody to come and nobody's ever come. And he said, well, I'm here and I have come a few times in and out, but you keep pushing me away. And I was, yeah, I do. Why do I do that? You all, and I realized like he's always with me. And
Yeah.
so whenever my mother beat me, which was quite a bit, anytime she saw me, laid eyes on me, there was something that she couldn't control, which later on she said she had a bad habit that once she started something, she couldn't stop. And I was like her human punching bag. So all her, whatever in life that she had gone through, which was quite a lot, she
Yeah.
took out on me. And, she beat me till I was unconscious. I mean, we're talking pretty bad.
Wow, that's horrible.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. I mean, go to the doctor. I could prove it through my body. People think the doctors say, "Gosh, you were in a really bad motorcycle accident." It's three. It's just amazing. So, my body still has, talk about the energy. It had worked its way in there, and it hasn't healed. But the soul, this is about healing the soul. The soul, it always wanted to be uh he, healing, to be made feel better, to be felt whole, because it felt like always like this huge vacuum was taken out of me and it would be leaving me with nothing. And in those moments, that's when I connected. And I had, like I said, no brothers, no sisters, no father. My grandmother, I had her for only 5 years. And after that, I really have had nobody. Um, so I would go and I would cry very deeply, and Whispers would always come and give me advice and, um, wisdomous words and explain, and the connection with him has only grown as I have grown and got older. Yeah.
Well, no, and your story being obviously it's very traumatic what you went through, and then also what your mom went through, like for being the product of the war. So was she in the Holocaust then?
Yeah, yeah, she was. She was a child of the Holocaust. So everybody in the family was taken away. And she remembers seeing her mother, which was my grandmother, which was the saint, being roused out, which means, when you rouse somebody, that's what they were yelling. The Germans were yelling rouse, which means get out, and taken away to Auschwitz. Now my mother didn't even know that my grandmother had the numbers on her arm. So when I was a kid, I thought it's like first grade or kindergarten. I saw some numbers on my grandmother's arm on the wrist, and I said, "That's not her phone number. I mean, what is this? You're writing numbers on your arm? I don't understand. That's not our phone number. It's weird." And she
Yeah.
goes, "You never saw that. You never saw that." And when I told my mother later after my grandmother died, because I promised my grandmother I would never. Oh, my grandmother said, "Promise me you'll never tell her." And I says, "Yeah, I won't." But my grandmother
Yeah.
was dead, and I was like, "She had numbers on her arms. Like, what was that?" And she says, "She never had numbers on her arm." She denied it. Now I don't know if she denied it because she denied all the way until I was 38 that I was Jewish, and that I don't know if she, or did she mentally just like throw that out? I don't know, but yeah, it was yes, that she was in the Holocaust and it did affect her. So for example, for me, I didn't know I was any kind of Jewish until I was 38. My when I remember going home in kindergarten
Yeah.
and saying, "Ooh, I'm going to find out what's going on." I think, and I remember we lived in a tenement, so I had to walk up 6 flights of stairs and thinking I could see it in my mind visually.
Yeah.
Uh, that I said, "Oh, I'm going to ask her what I am." And I go, "I wouldn't be surprised. I bet she's going to tell me I'm an alien." So, I, I'm a kid. I'm only like 5 or 6. I thought, so she's going to
Yeah.
tell me I'm an alien. And then I says, "Mom, what am I?" And she goes, she put down her paper and she says, "Okay, now is the first time we're having a decent discussion." She says, "You are whatever the people around you are. If they say they're Catholic, you say you're Catholic. If they say they're Protestant, you say you're Protestant. That's what you are." And I was, because everyone was going through communion, and they kept saying to me, "What are you going to go through communion?" I'd gone through nursery school, was a Catholic nursery school. So
Yeah.
boy, was I confused. And she goes, "Well, you figure it out." And I was confused, but I think in the same as I got older, I thought it was the
Yeah.
really the best answer, because it put me on a path to becoming a xenophile, because I examined all different cultures and I examined all the different kinds of things,
Yeah.
um, and I'm a little bit of everything. Like I study Buddhism, I practice Buddhism. I love going into Catholic churches. I love Orthodox Greek churches. I don't care what it is. I love Jainism. I love all the different. So I think as long as a person is good, and nice, I like them. That's my religion.
I like people that are nice too. Like that always helps. I'm just saying, I don't like when people are mean. I'm like, what's wrong with them?
Yeah,
What happened to them? But it's like,
yeah,
even at that, it's like that's extremely hard. Having that in the genes, like, um, because like the trauma, like the body holds on to like the generational trauma is like what I was thinking of is like that
right,
holds on.
right.
That still affects. Like, how old was your mother when she went through that?
But she
Because
was
did she even have numbers though?
no, she didn't. She did not. Okay, so my mother,
Yeah.
my grandmother was very smart, and she had to.
Mhm.
They were very poor, but she worked. Um, I think so. It was like 2 shifts, right? So 16-hour days. So she can afford to buy baptism papers for my mother when my mother was a young girl, because she
Mhm.
foresaw what was going on. And so my mother was also an illegitimate child,
Mm.
that my mother was dating a blue blood, which is royalty. And when she got pregnant, the person kept saying, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, it'll be, we'll make it right. We'll make it right. We're going to get married." And after the 3 months time, nothing happened. And so here you had a poor Jewess in, back in 1932, having a child in Europe. Forget it. It was that being spit on all different kinds of levels, and people circumventing, or like perverted men then hitting on it. So it was very difficult. Grandmother had no friends whatsoever. But the way my mother did not get to go into the, or circumvented the being deported, she had baptism papers. So while her whole family was taken away, uh, she had a grandmother that was so skinny that, and the bed had a dip in it because it was a hay bed. So she's laying in the hay bed, and when the Nazis came in, they were poking around in the bed, but she was so skinny and she was sunken in, and luckily they didn't pierce her body, that she was the only survivor that stayed in the ghetto. And my mother would go in and out of the ghetto because of her papers. She could go in and out to maybe take her, like, I don't know what, some kind of food that you found somewhere. Sometimes a grocery store had, been bombed. And so my mother would be in the rubble and finding a heel of bread, something like this. And so she'd go in and out of the ghetto. Yeah. To get, and one day she went back and she was hugging her grandmother in the bed, and she said this like quite a lot. She repeated herself, but she woke up and she didn't know why her grandmother was so cold in the night, and in the morning she was hugging her, and she was dead. She was hugging a dead carcass. Is that the word? Carcass?
I know
Dead,
that's for
a dead
animals,
body?
but
Yeah, I think so. Like a
cadaver.
carcass is a
Cadaver
cadaver.
is
Yeah,
human. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She had a tough life.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like me, I've always been so fascinated by World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was a kid, I was always studying like Anne Frank and like what happened, and like I could never figure it out. And then I'm like, I always wonder like how in the world did they do it? Like how did Hitler come to power and like all this stuff? Because there's so many kids, that are the Gen Z, and like I'm not picking on them necessarily, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people that have zero concept that socialism is communism. It's the exact same thing. And
Mm-hmm.
any way they
Mm-hmm.
want to slice it, it's horrible,
Mm-hmm.
it's bad, don't do it. And
Mm-hmm.
then like COVID was like the first example I got, like the awareness of like that's how Hitler did it. That is exactly how he did it.
Well, you
And
mentioned
it's
guns
how
before.
how he did it. Yeah.
The thing is with the Jewish people, why it's so important to have guns is
Yeah.
because why were the Jews were able to be taken away and deported? There were
The
no
no guns.
guns. That was the first thing they did, to take the
Hmm.
guns. How are they going to stand up to somebody that has a gun?
They can't.
Their guns were taken away. This is what people don't like. They missed that part of history, or they did not even teach that in history. And then, speaking of communism and all that, I went back when Hungary was still in communism. I was 17 years old. That is written about in my third book. And
Yeah.
all the things that happened and how it happened, all that is in my first book. The Poor people always blaming Jews for having all the money. And here, my family, unfortunately, was poorer than the poorest people. And they were just trying to survive, having a couple of potatoes between 7 people in one room that didn't even have a toilet. In the building they lived in, there was one bathroom for I think my mother said, if I believe this, 150 people. And so excuse me,
Wow.
but the pots of urine would just be dumped out the windows, and it was beyond. So uh, this is why compassion is important. And this
Yeah,
is
it
why
is.
it's like, you could take a big world and you could take it and make it so you understand it, put it in simple terms. And if you have a classroom of people, or if you've ever you lived your life and you could think back, has anybody ever said anything bad about you that wasn't true? Listen, if you've lived as long as I have, at least you've seen it done to somebody else. And for example, they're blaming that person for, let's say, stealing a purse. And you're looking at this person, you're like, I know this person. What are you talking about there? They stole the purse. So by just having some compassion and not just believing like, oh, it's something to do on Saturday, I'm going to go march in the riot. No. What, who is behind it? Is there not
Yes.
somebody that's, who's benefiting from that? Know what you're doing. Just be aware of what you're doing. And in communism, you think that everybody is doing well. It's even greater
Mhm.
poverty. Only the
Oh yeah.
top 1% have everything.
Yep.
Look at Putin. He has how many millions and billions of dollars, and the other people are all worrying about buying bread. So you really have to look into it. And what looks good on paper is not
Mhm.
necessarily what works in real life. And communism is not something that works in real life. That's all from my family's experience. I mean, I'm first
Yeah.
generation born here. I'm a great patriot. I love America. This is where everybody would love to come to. Why was everybody wanting to come here? Because it was so great. But now this influx of people that have been coming here, it's like, are we really, if America's great, why change it? Why are we changing?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's such a great place. Are the people that really coming here, do they really love America, or do they want to bring America down so that another country could be, lifted? Are the spies, this and that? I mean, there's a whole bunch of
Well,
stuff there.
oh yeah, there definitely is. That's why I'm like, oh yes, now we're on to the topics. I'm like, I I don't got I don't have very many of these deep conversations like with anybody, but it's like some of those things I'm like, people were not thinking like they're missing like a good majority of the people like there's a reason why 95% of the world doesn't have their stuff together. Like they're just like the average drifters. Napoleon Hill calls them drifters. Like they don't know
Mhm.
where they're going. They have zero concept that everything that they're doing in life, they're creating it. Like when you said about like for the guns, that was the very first thing that they took like what you said, they took the guns and then like even before there was the concentration camps, they rounded them all up. They had them in the ghetto. So I knew what you're talking about, like for the ghettos, is that
Yeah,
that's what they did first.
yeah.
Not first, but like that's one of the things that they did before they had the camps.
Mm-hmm,
And then it's like
mm-hmm,
here in the U.S. For I remember in high school, we had to we could not necessarily do like we couldn't talk about World War II for like one of our history lessons but I
mm-hmm,
found out about Japanese internment camps. That was like one of
mm-hmm.
my assignments, and I had to go research. And I'm like, what's a Japanese internment camp? Because I'm like, I never heard them. They were never in the history book.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and I found out about it, and I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, the US had that. It was not as bad as the concentration camps. They were more like the ghetto for like the concentration camps. Like if a person has to compare, they're very similar. But they did that in World War II. And
Mhm,
nobody talks about that in the US because they've
mhm,
made it into a race card. And I hate when people play the race card because
mm,
I'm like, okay, if we're going to play black versus white,
mm,
what's the intention behind that? Like to keep it fueled. And then there were
mhm.
certain
Oh,
areas that were
yeah,
talking about having
yeah.
segregation again. I'm like, no, we do not want segregation. And like, go study why the abortion industry. where that got started. Margaret Sanger. She started it just because she did not want the Black people around. And it's like, if you go really study this, if people really do their research, it's like they've got some nasty things that have happened. But that Japanese internment camp, like, I'll never forget, like, when I learned about that, I'm like, the US has done some bad things, like very bad things to people too. So it's like, I understand like some of it, but at the same time, it's like the World War II, like that really just, that's one of those, like I said, like COVID was like the closest thing I understood how Hitler came into power. Like he used the repetition, the three, because the brain does better with the three. Like he used the power of the three against people, and then he like made it all the Jews' fault. And then like what he did, like, was so much. He was so good at manipulating people.
And a lot of it was through propaganda.
Yes.
And then people have a thing, well, if you say it enough times, people will believe it without fact checking it, and peers will say it. So, oh, it must be true because now everybody's, but
schools do that.
Yeah. Instead of, that's what's nice about, being diversified. And I like going to church. I like listening to my Buddhist thing. I like listening to all the, diversify myself so that I can hear what more people are saying, as opposed to just pigeonholing myself into one little place. You get a wider perspective. And then if you don't feel comfortable with that, then why not? Why don't you feel comfortable with that? Because that might take a little bit of looking into, or uh, you know, like Einstein said, the greatest thing to be intelligent is to be curious. Be curious.
And the
Yeah.
government does not like that either, because if you're curious, you ask too many questions, then you're a threat. And that's what I've told everybody. I'm like, the reason why people don't want you to know something about yourself, this is the main reason why nobody wants to grow themselves. The main reason I've pinned it down is because if anybody knew how truly smart and capable they were, then they'd have to realize all the BS that they've told themselves. And I'm talking the belief systems. All that would become unraveled. And then a person would see how much power they truly have. And that scares them, because we've been programmed. You can't have that.
That used to be the strength in America, is that's what made us strong, is that we had the freedom. And when I learned that is when I went to Hungary for a visit, because my mother wanted to show me everything in Hungary, and there was still communism. I mean, I don't know what the right term of it is. I was going to say I almost lost my mind, but not to be able to speak my mind as to how horrible the beans were in a soup, something that simple, that I could be taken away into a gulag for complaining that the beans are too tough. Who cooked this? That almost took us into the gulag. My mother forgot where we were. And she said to the manager, you serve this bean soup. The beans are tough. And he says, oh, so who should I tell the authorities that is complaining about the bean soup? Nobody ever complained here before. And my mother was like, whoa, I forgot where I was. Oh, she says, oh, I just have a bad sense of humor. I just have a bad sense of humor. I never had better beans in my life. That's why I thought I could say that. It was funny. And let me tell you, that paddy wagon was outside the restaurant. And oh yeah, they literally would go around. If I didn't get stopped 3 times a day, asked for my passport, which were like over there, they had, like, they just called them papers. If you could improve why you were okay not to be at work at a particular hour, or why, let's say if I was not working and my paper said I was supposed to be working, in the paddy wagon into the gulag, and which is, you know what a gulag is? A
No, but I'm assuming
gulag,
it's bad.
it's bad. I went to go, so there's this place in Hungary called the House of Horrors, or is it the House of Terrors? I think it's a House of Terrors. And it's in the middle of the city, but nobody knew where it was. And everybody knew one person that would disappear for at least 2 weeks or maybe for life. And if you didn't know anybody that had that happen, then you were the one that it happened to. And it was like they would have torture. They would torture people. So they would have like uh Solzhenitsyn wrote the book Gulag Archipelago. It's actually of that place. Because when I was there, I asked the guide, I said, I write a book, Gulag Archipelago, and everything matches up to that book. Is this that place? And it happened to be that place. He said, yes. So they'd have hangings. They'd have like cells where they threw people in, raised the cold water, freezing water, and 5 people in there. And, no bathroom, right? The water
Yeah.
is up waist high, and people would die from the freezing and just leave them in there. They would have terrible things where they would put a pencil. They would have you stand on a wall naked, men and women together, and you would have to hold the pencil up with your forehead against the wall. Now, they would have, if the pencil, when the pencil fell down, you were, shown to get an electric shock in your genital area. That's what they did with you. And the last person standing, the
I
last
think of that's
person,
pain.
after
Yeah.
24 hours, and you're so the only person that would walk by, the last person was the one who escaped that torture, but he would also probably be the one that walked away with the pencil in his head, walking away with the pencil sticking out of his head. And why? Because they'd rather stick the pencil point in their head. They would jam it into their forehead, not to get the electrocution in the genitals. And then you're out on the street and you would see in the middle of their forehead a little pencil point lead in their forehead. And you'd go, oh, yeah, I know what happened to him, you know? I mean, that's a gulag. These are the kinds of things that happened under communism. You can't talk about anything. You wanted to talk about anything, everybody's place is bugged. Everybody's place is bugged. Everybody is a spy on everybody else. And you get points for the communist team if you reported people. So everybody was a spy and everybody's reporting people. So it was just, oh, what a horrible way to live under. And let me tell you, after just like the first day, I said, when I come back to America, I'm going to do like the Pope in the most holiest, um, gown and kiss the ground America is, when I get back home.
Yeah.
And I was here for a month at a time. So I did that a few summers, and I learned a lot from that experience. So those kinds of stories are in my third book, which, I was 17 and it was very eye-opening. Yeah. And if you want communism and you love communism, enjoy it. Go to Russia and go to China.
But leave it out of the US. That's all I tell people. I'm like, no, that's the thing that like the younger generations, like I'm in the older millennials. So I'm like, I was only able to learn from people who have been there, like I said, but it's like the younger generation, they have no concept. They're not taught about it at all. And it's horrible because like that's why history repeats itself. That's the whole reason why the concentration camps, that's why they left them, was so that people could see that as a reminder for history, because if you don't learn it, you're doomed to repeat it. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
is all this in all of your books?
Oh yeah, it continues on, in different ways,
Yeah.
different aspects of it. But what people don't also understand is that, oh, okay, now the Jews are gone. Now who's to say that they're going to stop? And now the people that are after the Jews are also, you see that in the world now, it's Christians, and uh, they just will
Yeah.
be the last two of them fighting against their own selves. It's 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 a it's a it's a lust. It's a very sick lust to say one person is better than another. Find where
Yeah.
you want to live. You want to do that, there's places for that. Go in there. Leave our country alone, please. Let's
Yeah.
just, that's why America was great. That's why everybody came here. Look, can we have it? Can we keep it that way?
So I agree with you because it's changed so much, and
Mm-hmm.
I love talking to people who came here
Mm-hmm.
that did it legally because
Yeah,
I'm
right.
like,
It
do
used
it.
to be,
I don't care as long as you're here
that's
legal.
that's the whole thing. And it's
Yes.
not like when we say not had to have illegal immigrants is a different agenda than
Yes.
vetted legal immigrants. They're still coming, the legal ones are good. It's fantastic. It's important. It's great. They're
Yeah.
here for the the right reasons. They're here to assimilate and not to break down, tear down, and destroy. And
Yes.
there's nothing wrong
The
with that.
illegal ones are doing it, and then like the people are like, when the people are trying to protect the illegals, I'm like, something about they're called illegal, they're called aliens, they're
Hmm.
called that
Hmm.
for a reason because
Hmm.
they're criminals, because
Hmm.
they came in criminally. They broke the
Hmm.
laws. There's
Hmm.
laws in this country, you have to follow them. If you don't
Yeah.
follow them, you need to leave. That's just how it works. And like even at that, it's like I feel bad for all of the people who came here legally because they've seen how these illegals have destroyed America. And it's like, how do you destroy any country? Or better yet, how do you even destroy yourself? You don't know yourself. You choose to escape it, like what we've said in the beginning. Like you
Uh-huh.
escape through scrolling, alcohol, you name the drug that you want to
Right.
choose. You
Right.
escape it, but not knowing yourself destroys yourself. Destroying a country, that's what the illegals have done. They
Well,
destroyed it from the inside
and it
and it
makes
goes
it so
out.
much easier not to have to use a bullet when the population is just dummying down all the time,
Yes.
because
And
it's
schools are
easier to
doing it good.
brainwash them and gaslight them when they have not been reading and educating themselves, but doing the drugging and the alcoholism and the whatever, because obviously you're not looking into history, you're not reading, you're just, I mean, I know people my age that don't watch the news, or if they watch the news, they only watch one kind of news. They don't watch a full, the left and the right. How about
Yeah.
you gotta watch it all. You
You do
gotta
both
know
of
what's
them.
happening, to be balanced, right? You can't, if you get on a scale or a seesaw and you just
Yeah.
sit on one side, the other side is, so what are you doing? What do you know? And then you trust somebody else's opinion or what they say. They're smarter than you. You can't open up a book and read what's going on. That is always surprising to me, you
Oh
know?
yeah. Oh yeah. Like people that are in the younger generation that blame or actually it's across all generations I've found for capitalism. They say capitalism is bad. I'm like, you idiot. If it wasn't for capitalism, you wouldn't have the smartphone in your hand. You would be with everybody else. You'd be fighting for the bread. You'd be fighting for your life every single day to be able to eat something.
Well,
Like they
capitalism,
don't
what's
get
good
it.
here is that we've had that freedom of thought, and that freedom of thought,
Yes.
there's a reason why we have so many inventions, because we
Yes.
have had that freedom of thought, right? I
Yes.
mean, what's the difference between having an abusive parent and an abusive government? When you have a communism and you cannot talk, that shuts down all the freedom of thought. And let me tell you something, when you go to a communist country and you saw the older people, and then, like, I'm talking Hungary, and then there
Yeah.
was no communism, they're out of communism, and it has changed. you would go to the older people that had lived through communism and you would just say, hey, first you always have to say, hello, I hope you're having a nice day. That's nice. Do you know how to get someplace? I'm using the bus. I don't know what I'm doing. And so you ask an older person, I'm talking over 40. They will look straight ahead. They will not even look at you because they have been scared to living death, right? They are afraid of everything and they've just been conditioned, mind your own business. Now, you go to a kid 20 years old and you say the same thing. Oh, yeah, I'm getting off there. I'll show you. Look at the difference in the personality. It's this is what communism does. This is what brutality does. This is what you are not important. What you have to say, you just have to get, we take your money, you work, you get nothing, but the 1%, only 1% has everything. You are nothing. You are nothing. And what people don't know is like, okay, also with communism, when I was there, at you go to junior high school, middle school, and if you are not on the top of your class and you are, you're not doing all well, they already know by middle school, 7th grade, what your plan is for life. So if you are smart, you can keep going to school, but you have so much pressure on you. If you are not good, you're going to be cleaning toilets, but not just now, until the day you die. You are cleaning the toilets. And at the same place, you don't even get to move around to different places to clean toilets. This is your job. And I saw that. That you would see people that were just stuck in a dead end job, never having the hope that, hey, you know what? All right, so now I'm cleaning the toilets, but I'll scrape some money together and then I'll go to school. Yeah, there's no opportunity like that over there in communism. That's it. That's it. Done. You're done. What hope is there? No hope.
There is none.
And forget about being gay. Oh boy. No. This is just very, and you are just a person to, it's like you have to go through, you have no feelings. I'm on a bus one time. I was going to Bratislava from Hungary with my daughter, and they were showing a very cute movie about dog. I forgot the name of the movie, but I started sniffling when the owner of the dog died, and I'm on the bus. So we're in a communist country, and
oh
my God, Esther, my God, it's so sad. And my daughter, she elbows me. She goes, "Do you remember where you were?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." I cough. I go, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good." Yeah, because you can't show it. You can't show any kind of emotion or weakness. It's not okay. It's not okay. So people, go take a visit there. See if you like it. If you like it, you can move there. Have fun. Enjoy your life.
That's how I'm like I said, I've studied so much, but to actually hear from you who has been there, that is like more eye-opening, more powerful than like just reading about it. Because like I said, I've read, I've studied, like I understand the concept of it, and it's like you said, it's good on paper, but it does not happen that way. And that's why I'm like, communism is happening here in the US. And it's like, it's not the socialism, it's communism is what it is. And we're headed for it. And
it's so bad they don't even want to say it what it is. That's how bad it is.
No, that's why they want to change it. That's
why they're saying socialism. This one we can, it sounds a little bit good. we can't say communism because they know how bad that is. Yeah, that says a lot.
They've changed the words every single time. As always, I just want to thank you for your time and energy while listening to today's episode of Healing for the Soul podcast. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Healing for the Soul podcast wherever you get your downloads, you're listening to your podcasts, and keep coming back for more episodes. Thank you, everyone, for your time and your energy while listening to today's episode of Healing for the Soul podcast, which also can be found on YouTube.